It's on. Good morning. Good morning, Johnson County and beyond, because we've got listeners all over Texas and throughout the country, actually. We just really appreciate you guys um, joining us here on JoCo Vibes. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed, and we've got two guests in the studio with us this morning, and neither one of them want to wear headphones because they don't want to mess up their hair. So
I don't think Jimmy's.
that's what
I
Jimmy
don't
said.
care.
That's what Jimmy
I
said.
will put them on if you.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But joining us this morning is Burleson Council members Tamara Payne and Jimmy Stanford. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. Thanks for saying yes to the invitation. It's a beautiful day here.
It is.
It's going to get hot.
You look nice in your blue as well.
Thank you. Heat index of 100 today.
Wow.
94. Lots going on. Lots going on in Austin today with Uvalde survivors speaking,
Yes.
along with Matthew McConaughey. That's his.
I thought that was in Washington.
I'm sorry, they're in Washington. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
They spoke on Monday in Austin.
Yeah.
So-
should be very interesting.
They're having interesting conversations about, gun safety that needs to happen. So I just picked a couple things I wanted to talk to you guys about, and you can share your opinion or not share your opinion. And
You might not want it.
well, honestly,
But my opinion matters.
well,
Sorry.
you're entitled to mine.
That's right.
Good
morning,
or not really. Who cares? You can listen to my opinion or not. No, actually, what I really thought was interesting was what Matthew McConaughey had to say as a gun owner himself. That it's nobody's trying to take anybody's guns away. They're just trying to get to the table and have a reasonable conversation about what can we do and where does our focus need to be on age restriction is one of the conversations that are actually actually happening. Mitch McConnell is now saying to friendly counterparts that he is in support of lowering the age to purchase a gun.
What?
Yes. Yes, that's one of the things that they're discussing. Why would you want to lower the age?
Well, really, let's be realistic here that the brain of a child is not fully formed till they're 25.
Right.
Okay, which means they're still learning reasoning and understanding. And the three of us who have, well, you two, what am I talking about? Who have children in their late teens and early 20s,
Mm-hmm.
I can testify to this that I don't
was
like the
just
idea of
having this-
lowering it at all, at all. And I think the key word to pick up on there is reasonable.
Right.
To have reasonable discussions, we have to come to the middle ground.
Yep. That's exactly it.
Well, and
Yes.
I think on that, we're talking about more about the purchasing of the weapon. There's no reason a parent shouldn't be involved in the purchase process of their child owning a weapon.
Well, Brenda Gammon just made a good point because you can join the Army at 18. Totally agree with
Yeah.
you, Brenda, but you are massively trained to use that weapon for the purpose of war. It's a completely different. It's not apples to apples. I mean, at 18, can you become a police officer?
Well, and I think, well, no, you'd have to be older.
21.
Yeah.
You have to be 21.
Yeah.
So also, but that's also
And
interesting
you have
too.
to be I will tell you, Brenda, my daughter Carlen made the same exact argument. She's like, well, hold on a second. We can join the service at 18, but it's different.
Mhm.
That's a different ball game.
And I think really this whole gun issue is missing the real crux of what we have. And it's not
Mental
that the
health.
gun did anything wrong. Just like it's not that the
Correct.
box truck did anything wrong when the Murrayfield Center was bombed.
Right.
Just like the airplanes and the box knives didn't do anything wrong when 9/11 happened.
Right.
These are tools that were used by people that have
Right.
evil in their hearts.
Yes.
And if we're going to fix this problem, this is not a gun issue. This is a heart issue.
Mhm.
Okay, Brenda just said, then let's require training. I completely agree with you. If you
Well-
purchase a gun, you should have to take a gun safety course and
I
learn
agree.
how to load it, unload it, use a safety.
Correct.
And just, have a basic class, right? If you get a car at 16, which in New Jersey, where I grew up, you didn't get your driver's license until you're 17. New York is 18. I think California is 18 as well. A car is a weapon. if it's not used properly. And so when you get your driver's license, you have to go through all of this rigorous training in order to get behind the wheel of a car. You should have to do the same thing in order when you purchase a gun or in order to purchase a gun.
And I think that's true if we're talking about people that want to do good lawful things, but they're also the people that want to do good lawful things are not the ones committing these
Yeah,
acts.
I was just about to
It's-
say
agree,
that.
agree with you.
When you look at you know, and I'll pick on Chicago. Chicago has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So does that mean there's no gun crime in Chicago? I think we would all disagree.
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I'm in agreement. It's about reason. There has to be some reason in the conversation, and mental health and red flag laws need to be looked
Exactly.
into.
I agree there.
I think that's extremely reasonable. I think that there's some former military men that may not agree with that. And I'm speaking from someone who actually made a comment regarding, I think, my opinion from, I don't know, a year ago or 2 years ago about red flag laws when when that conversation was happening.
I just wish things were taken serious all the time and not, they were looking at this guy and it was not addressed.
There is a problem.
Here's the thing. I'm going to use an example. I'm not going to say a name. I know of a situation where a kid did not get to walk across the stage just this year. Just a comment that was made to a friend that was done jokingly, still not right. But he had officers at his house. He was not allowed to walk the stage, had a perfect school record, never was in trouble, was 17% ranking, and he didn't get to walk the stage because of a silly comment he made the day of graduation. Now, do I believe what they did was accurate? Yes, they took it seriously.
But you got to say what it was so people know
He joked about bombing up
the graduation.
the graduation. The boy and him both were giggling about it. It was just a joke. Like I said, they did all the investigation. They saw it was, you could see in the text it was a joke. He didn't have, they searched his house, everything, but he still didn't get to go to graduation. He still did not walk. I believe they did the right thing, but that city and that school district took things seriously. This guy had been watched. They said, oh, he is on the watch list. Quit putting him on the watch list because you're apparently not watching him very well.
Well, you know, Matthew McConaughey, he continues to say, he says, we need to invest in mental health care. We need to safer schools. We need to restrain sensationalized media coverage. We need to restore our family values. We need to restore our American values, and we need responsible gun ownership. And then he goes to say, is this a cure-all? Hell no. But
That's
people are
correct.
hurting.
It's not a cure-all.
I would say for me, you know, let's look at all of the angles of this. And one is lock down the schools.
right.
Period.
And don't make the schools so vulnerable.
Well, here's the challenge with that. This guy shot through the glass and got into the school.
Now
that's
they're
how he
saying
did
there was
it.
an open door
there's
that a
an open
teacher had
door.
propped
See,
open.
I heard something completely different.
Nope.
The
all the things I'm
timeline
seeing now.
doesn't line up.
Yeah.
There's over an hour that the shooter was inside there without being engaged.
Okay.
There is some
Yeah.
other serious. But
And I'm not faulting anything that happened there. It's just that we have to make sure
We're not
that-
getting the full story either.
Yeah, we have to make sure the door can't be propped open. We have to make sure all of these things happen. You know, look at our airports; they're pretty secure. I mean, why can we not make our schools like that?
That's our greatest commodity right there is our children.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's a conversation that has to keep happening. It has to get deeper. And I do love what Matthew McConaughey said. And that was where I was getting to was we have a mental health crisis going on in our country right now. And we're ignoring it. We are totally ignoring it. And so we got to get there and we got to have these conversations. So that's why I wanted to at least bring it up and get your opinions on it. And by the way, I'm a gun owner and I carry, and because I'm safe with my gun.
And like I say,
It's holstered and
I am too. And
yeah.
I even have my my
Yeah.
license to carry. So
Right.
Well,
And
the
like
one
I say,
thing,
I don't view that as a gun issue, even though a gun was
Mhm.
used. You know, he used that as a tool. I think we take the gun
he
away.
could have taken
his
anything.
his heart was still to kill,
Mhm.
and I think
Right.
taking the gun away would not have stopped him from carrying that out, whether he used a truck, a
bomb.
or whatever else he was going to use.
Well,
to me, I think the one can I and I
Yeah.
can't find this. If you've got it there, then you tell me. But I think the thing that we, as council members and as a part of the government, is the thing that we're forgetting is what he said at the end of his speech when he talked about leadership. And I can't find that portion, but he just talked about leaders have to step up and do things that are difficult for now, not for the vote later.
love it. And that's the truth. And
Mhm.
so what a great transition into why you guys are sitting here.
Right.
And because that leadership starts at the bottom. We're not talking about the president of the United States. We're talking about leadership on a local level and at all levels of government. You've got to have good leadership. I truly, truly hope that Matthew McConaughey runs for an office here at some point in Texas. I really do. I think he would make, I think he would make a great, he'd just be a great asset. I don't want to say politician because I don't think he's a politician.
That's the problem. We need to get rid of the politicians.
right.
Good luck with that.
They're too comfortable in their positions. They need out. They need out.
I think the people need to understand that there are really two different types of elected officials. There are statesmen and there are politicians.
Mhm.
A politician, by definition, is someone who really likes their position, and they will do what's necessary to keep that position. They will cast their ballots the way they want to. They will stay silent when they need to. They'll support who they need to
Correct.
in order to stay in office. A statesman doesn't care. A statesman doesn't care about who they offend. If it comes down to it, they're gonna do what's right. They're gonna do right by the people, and it may cost them some votes,
Oh
but
yeah.
they're gonna do what's right by the people.
I'd never heard that till you told me that
Yep.
after council meeting the other night.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
it's pretty powerful.
I always feel like if there is things going on that are personally making people angry, it's because you are stirring up things that have been hidden and they don't want it to be pulled out. And they're trying to keep that safe spot where they all feel comfortable or they're getting what they want. So if you as a single person are causing some stir up, then I feel like you're doing the right thing.
Well, and let me say this: I don't think that falls on the citizens. So let's.
No, I agree.
I don't think it's, and I don't. So I don't even know if I look at it as covering things up more than just continuing to do things the way
same
they've
way.
always been done.
Correct. You could say
And that
too.
has probably been the biggest thing that I have challenged since I've been in office, which is,
Mhm.
hey, why do we do this? Why do we do this? I asked
Right.
this question. Why is this done the way this is done? Is there a better way to do this? Is there a better way to use this money? And, we had a presentation from Jesse Elizondo, who is our director of customer service, and he did a presentation on lean government the other day. And his presentation was exactly how I have approached my role as a council member, which is asking questions and looking for
'Cause
ways
that's what you're
to do
supposed
things better. And whenever I come into anything, whatever it is, whether it involves staff and an issue with something we have to vote on, and or the hot money where there's a citizen or citizens involved, it's never personal for me. Somehow there's a narrative going around that I made a vote based off of personal feelings the other day, and that couldn't be more false. However, I have not been asked onto a certain show because they don't want the truth from me for their audience. And the truth is, I never make a decision based off of personal feelings, ever. And I don't ask questions of people off of personal feelings. So I'm going to just lay this all out there, right? I had a stack of all of the applications.
Before you go any deeper, for those that are listening, I want them to understand what HotMot is because most people don't know what HotMot is.
What
So-
it's supposed to be used for.
Jimmy, what is HotMot?
So hot mod is hotel motel tax. So the state of Texas collects 6% hotel motel tax just for the state. They've allowed local municipalities to be able to tax hotels on top of that, a certain percentage. By our city website, we collect an additional 7% for local is what we collect. Now that local tax can be used for some very specific things. And I mean, they're spelled out. They're spelled out in the Attorney General opinion, GA 0124 by now Governor Abbott, then Attorney General Abbott.
It's not a local policy.
No.
Right. This is state.
Yeah, this is state. And it's found and that is derived from our state tax code. And so it breaks it down very specifically. Okay, this is the money that's collected, and here's how it has to be used. Now, the key on how it has to be used, it has to fit two prongs in order for it to be legal and ethical and follow the law and follow the Attorney General opinions. One, it has to be to promote tourism, and two, it has to have a direct relation to hotel motel usage. It has to.
Okay.
And if it doesn't, then it doesn't meet the criteria, and it doesn't.
Well,
Yeah.
it can be used for arts as well.
It can be used for arts. So there's that's one of the many specified in
Right.
there is the art. But those two
Tourism
prongs,
is the biggest thing.
and the tourism, when they talk about tourism, they're talking about people coming in, maybe looking at art, that kind of stuff. So there's some things in there that from the Attorney General opinion, I've got it in front of me. So that way I don't misspeak, because I know some people love to get me on things if they find I say a word wrong or something. But I will actually, let me go in here real quick. I'll tell you exactly what we can use it
So
for.
while you're looking for that, I'm going to ask one quick question.
Sure.
Would it is to get those tourists to stay here in Burleson for the night.
Yes.
Bed. It's heads and beds.
Right. So a 1-day event to me would not really constitute a
You may have a vendor, or you may have a few vendors that would stay overnight. There's no doubt about that.
Okay.
That you may have those who come in from out
we're
of
just talking the vendors. We're not talking about
No,
Well, no,
vendors.
It's anybody.
Well,
Well,
Anybody.
I'm talking about vendors.
You
but
never
I'm
know.
talking-
You know,
yeah.
the goal hopefully
Okay.
is to get people to come from Keller, and that they're wise enough that if they've been drinking,
That they would just
they
go
would
ahead and
choose to
stay.
stay locally.
Exactly.
But there's no guarantee that they'll stay at the two hotels in
I
Burleson
know.
when there's 4 fairly new ones just a stone's throw
know.
away.
4. There's
5,
like
6. I don't
Is it-
know.
Yeah,
nearly
it's like
8
5 or 6.
hotels over there now.
Hey, I just threw that a number out.
in the
Yeah.
Let's just say a number of.
yes, a number of hotels that are nicer, newer, and also safer, because the 2 that are actually located within city limits
Have had a lot of issues.
they just don't have a great reputation,
Mhm.
unfortunately. Hopefully this is something that we can change. I mean, I think that's part of the conversation. It's the same thing too with people coming in for certain events at Jellystone, and they're actually staying at Jellystone.
Well, they
Yes.
can't go to their events unless they're staying there.
Right. And so
You have to
60
actually.
Right. The
Right.
Jellystone has gotten
so
really
there's
strict.
incentive there, and 60% of Hot Mop money actually comes from Jellystone.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
Yeah,
and,
so-
and anybody that's ever stayed at Jellystone, you're paying hot mod. If you rent a room out on a B&B in our city, you pay hot mod tax, or you're supposed to. That's what the law is. Here, I'll read straight from the Attorney General. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but I'll read straight from it. Revenue from the municipal hotel occupancy tax may be used only to promote tourism and the convention and hotel industry, and that use is limited to the following. And it goes on to describe that we can use it for a convention center. So if we want to acquire that, repair it, that kind of thing, then facilities for personnel, materials, and registration of convention delegates or registrants, advertising related to attracting tourists and convention delegates, the encouragement promotion. This gets into the arts, all the different arts we can use it for, and then the historical functions. So it can the historical, like
That's the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah, the Heritage
right.
Foundation.
Visitor center,
Exactly.
Tourism transportation, even. So
So it's very
valet
specific.
valet service in
Yes.
Old Town could be used for that. It could be used for any type of shuttle service during hot sounds of summer, people having to park far
Exactly.
away. Could be used for that. Hey, it could be given to JoCo Community Radio. We have guests that come in onto our radio
Mhm.
shows from all over.
Right.
Just that was supposed to be a funny people.
Well,
So maybe I'll ask next year. I don't know.
So I had some questions about some of the applications. I asked staff these questions, and I was told you need to ask those questions in council. Now,
Which makes sense.
I didn't
asking
pick
it
or
to the
choose who
person.
I was putting at the top. I did put the 2 applicants that had the most applications at the top, so we could get that out of the way. They always say take the biggest bite first, kind of thing.
Right. If you're watching on any of our streaming, by the way, this is the stack, because I even pre-printed it off because I wanted to see.
I printed it all and I read it, and that's what I feel like my job is. I read all the contracts that we're given, and so being a wise steward of the money on things that we have a little bit more control on. We don't have as much control on all other things. I question every 380 agreement that we do with larger corporations. I question it all the time. I struggle with it because I also feel like, especially with us needing a conference center so bad, us wanting a theater. We should have had a local little theater here a long time ago. There's so many things we could have been doing with this money that we haven't been doing with it. And I'm just now wrapping my brain around all that. However, I understand these applicants. I understand why they applied. I understand giving them some money. The answer wasn't no. The answer was, let me ask you some questions. And I'm really, really frustrated with the accusation of personal decisions on this. So let's be very clear. I'm going to talk to Mr. Allard, who had our mayor on his show yesterday, and I would love to come on your show if you would invite me. But I never, ever accused Miss Griffin of defrauding the city. And he used that phraseology
he did
multiple times.
All right, we're going to come right back to this. We're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we'll be back to talk further about this and really dive in. Stay with us.
Abnormal realities.
I love my mom.
Yep. She sent me a message.
My mom did?
Yeah, Wednesday night. And she invited me over tomorrow night to watch Titanic and share a bowl of popcorn. And I accepted.
You did?
Yep.
That'd be fun.
And she calls it Chaps Only Night. Every Saturday night.
Look.
Miss Dixie,
Look,
how you doing? He said, it's my mom, bro. All right, it's my mom.
I want to hear the answer to the Titanic and popcorn. Go ahead, Mom. What's up?
Oh!
Hi, boys.
Hi,
I just
Mom.
wanted to ask Rocky if he wanted butter on that popcorn or not.
I would rather have the butter somewhere else, but if popcorn's the only place I can have it, I'll take it.
Jeez,
Hey,
dude.
nobody says I can't roll around in it for a little bit.
All right, Mom.
That is my
Love you.
girl. I love you,
Mom.
Dixie.
Abnormal realities
My mom. Love you.
Dixie.
Bye. I love you too.
with Ron and Rocky. Weekdays, 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on JoCo Community Radio.
Holy crap.
Hey, there's something you forgot to do. It sure is hot. Are you sweating like a dog? Wait, what? Dogs don't sweat. Oh no, you forgot to get your window tinted. Whether it's the kitchen window that sits in the sun for the hottest part of the day, or you just got new wheels, call Sharp Window Tinting in Burleson. 817-615-9379, or look them up on the web, sharpwindowtint.com.
Fast Track Student Loans can get your student loans out of default, stop any wage garnishments, stop collection calls, and stop seizure of your tax refund. Give yourself a break. Stop the stress and get your student loan payments down to as little as $25 a month based on what you can afford to pay. 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395, 800-709-4395.
Welcome back to JoCo Vibes here on JoCo Community Radio. I'm Tiffany Carlen with Nona Reed. JoCo Community Radio is proud to be the voice of Johnson County, Texas, and is live 365 on the TuneIn Radio Network. To listen or watch, simply go to tuneinjoco.com to choose where and how. The JoCo Community Radio app is now available for free. That's right, guys. You can download our our own app on Android and Apple devices. Just simply search your store. Check out our lineup and more on JoCoCommunityRadio.com. This episode and more brought to you by Patriot Claims, making your insurance work for you. Reach out to your Texas sales rep, Nona Reed, at 844-TEX-HAIL. Hail. Not hell. Hail. 844-TEXHAIL. That's 844-839-4245. Get her in your corner before the next storm hits. Make sure your claims get properly paid when you actually need it, because insurance doesn't they just don't want to pay. They don't want to pay. So anyway, welcome back, Jamie Stanford and Tamara Payne, Burleson City Council members. Somebody actually asked me this question, and every time somebody asks me the question, I have to like count heads up on the dais. But there's seven,
Seven.
and
That
that's
includes
including
the
the
mayor.
mayor. Right. Okay. So right before we went to break, you were addressing Mr. Allard, who openly accused you on his podcast yesterday of saying something that you didn't say, and accusing a local business person of something,
of defrauding the city, that I was alluding to the fact that Tiffany Griffin with Local Life is defrauding the city. And I never once said that. I didn't even allude to it. I can only imagine who put that notion into her head and his head, but that is false, cannot be more false. And let me tell you, I went to Miss Griffin, as well as the other women in the audience who were applicants, and said, I'm going to have some tough questions for you. I just want to give you a heads up about that. I'm doing my job. It's not personal. I stated that from the dais then. In doing my job, it's not personal. It is not personal. Here's how not personal it is. I respect Tiffany Griffin. Okay. I've known Tiffany for many, many years. Okay. I was at her house for her housewarming party. I knew her and her ex-husband and their family. I've given her referrals for her business. I've given her contacts for her business. I even texted her during the debacle of the cover page issue of the three three people running for office, and said, I'm really sorry you're having to deal with this. I know how bad that can be because I went through it. I'm hang in there. It's going to get better. So are we best friends? No. Same thing with Brooke. Same thing with the Burleson Chamber. I can't say that I know the guy that did the Burleson Wine and Crawl thing. That's only known from last year. And I only know Jellystone from things they've come forward. This is not personal. Some of those people may not have supported me. I don't know that for sure. And I don't care. My personal feelings about people, they do not come into play when I sit around that dais. And for people to make the accusation of that, not only to the public, but to staff, that my decision making was based off of personal, is so false. So let's rewind a couple of months and let's all look at how strongly I addressed the litter contract stuff with the lawn maintenance. That litter contract thing was brought forward. I read it back and forth. I read the lawn contract. I looked for discrepancies. I felt like this may not be what we need at this time. I asked our parks director some very pointed, difficult questions, and we tabled it. We reviewed it. We came back. We made a little bit of a change. That's what I'm trying to do. Okay. Now I realize it's hard when our citizens are involved, and trust me, there's a little frog in my throat when I have to talk to citizens as well, because it's always a hard thing, because these are people I live around and I admire and I respect. I respect these women for what they're doing. It's hard. Throwing events like this is very, very hard, but I'm also been elected to do a job. And if you can't respect me for doing my job the way that I was elected to do it, then we have a problem there.
Right.
Then it's personal. Okay. I know it feels personal. I've been on the other end, by the way. I know it feels personal. And I don't fault them for coming forward and asking for the money. That is not it. But I do believe we need to limit the money. We're going to have to make changes in the future, because we do need to be using that money for other things. If I had really looked into Hot Mott like I did this year, which last year was all new, deer in headlights kind of thing, I would have realized that we were begging for money from the Public Works Department to help to get more money to do the painting artwork outside underneath the bridge. If I had known we could have taken it from Hot Mod, I would have suggested it right then. And that's why I said that during the meeting the other day. Lisa Duello and she had actually mentioned to me, hey, when we were out there at the ribbon cutting for the beautiful butterfly painting, right? And that, or the monarchs, sorry. But she was like, I'm going to try to request more for next year. And then I said, don't request more for next year. Request it out of the Hot Mod money. We're going to have nearly $1 million or over $1 million in this fund. Why are we not using it for other purposes, tourism purposes, like genuinely getting people here to do things, not just go to events?
So I liked that part of the conversation that you guys, because I was in council. I'm in council most of the time, and if I'm not, I'm watching it online. And one of the conversations that the things that you guys did bring up, and I can't remember which one you brought up, was a convention center. This is something that we don't have. I had a sidebar conversation with the mayor. I think, I don't know, before or after the meeting, I can't remember. And he said to me, well, and this is regarding the golf course, because there's RFPs out for hotels next to the golf course, which I don't really understand personally. And this is something for me. I don't know why we need to put a hotel next to our golf course that looks like crap. And
no, we've improved the golf course. And quite frankly,
well,
here's the thing. I'm going to make this argument for you real quick. The purpose of bringing a hotel there is because we do need another hotel in the city limits.
I agree with you.
To counteract what you just said, that people are going to the Fort Worth hotels right here. And I think that with what they're looking to do with that location next to the golf course, with this beautiful amphitheater and these, that's a perfect place.
I was being facetious.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Sorry. I was sorry.
Sister.
I'm sorry. I have to be a councilwoman and correct the record here,
yes,
whether you're my sister or not.
No, I was being facetious because
don't take it personal.
Right? I'm
sorry.
leaving. No,
Sorry.
I was being facetious for a point because one, I've played many golf tournaments at Hidden Creek Golf Course, and I think it's a great course. Does it need some love and care? Sure, it does. I think the biggest thing it needs really is a beautiful clubhouse that will attract golfers to come in, hold bigger tournaments, and stay, spend money.
Right. That's tourism,
and then have a hotel, right? So why are we not using Hot Mod funds to upgrade our golf course?
I think there's definitely some things that this is, I hope, and I can't speak for Jimmy, but that's a lot of what I'm looking at. Is how do we use the funds in 4A, 4B, Hot Mod, some of this stuff that's very, very specific funds that we're not being creative enough with, and how do we help look at that? And I don't fault staff. These guys are doing their job every day, and day in, day out, and there's another thing slapped down on their desk that they need to finish, right? And so, to hit pause for a lot of creative thinking, I think that's why we have a council, so that we can come in from the outside look. That's why people hire coaches and consultants, right? So they can look at things from an outside perspective and say, here's an idea that maybe you haven't thought of, right?
Well, in saying that too, and this, the convention center is what I was getting at, is again, tourism money. We're not focusing on the low hanging fruit. This is my personal opinion. We're not focusing on the low hanging fruit with these types of funds that we can use to bring in the bigger events that we really need and to bring in the tourism. And that's a convention center. Somehow Cleburne has managed to do it. They don't have a hotel attached to them.
I don't think we need a hotel attached to it.
I don't think we need either.
We don't want to deal with a
convention
hotel
center, right?
Right.
It needs to be separately
it's really a
owned.
conference center. That's what Cleburne's is. It's a conference center, because convention, you think Fort Worth, massive city,
right.
Yes.
So, but still, it's a very big.
Grapevine's got its
It's
own.
very nice.
Grapevine has its own also. Hearst just built an amazing one.
Yep.
Amazing.
So, in saying that, having these conversations at a council meeting, first of all, the purpose of a council meeting is to not violate the Open Meetings Act. We have to have these conversations in front of the public. The public needs to know what's going on. So if you want to stop the public conversation, then you're not informing the public of what's going on. And that there breeds conversation too from the people, right? When they're hearing these things and the different comments and the ideas and going, I've had a great event idea. I had no idea I could come to the city. Or I have a great idea. I just heard that. That sparked an idea. Let me reach out to council members or city staff and give them my idea. It creates more conversation and opinion from the people to find out what the people want.
And let's be clear, all of this stuff that's coming up at the council meetings is put out for public feed long before the council meeting. Not real long, but it's prior to that. And so one of the things I do, and I want to address, because people think that I was attacking Tiffany, and that was not my intention at all.
Not me, Tiffany Griffin.
Tiffany Griffin at Local Life. So let me explain how I do council meetings. So whenever the agenda packet comes out, I study it intensely. I'm looking at what are the legal ramifications of everything we're doing. I study case law. I study attorney general opinions. I study what's actually on the books, chapter 351 of the tax code, for example, when it comes to hot mod. I'm looking at AG opinions. I'm looking at all of this. Then I sit down with our city manager and I go over any concerns that I might have. And I did that prior to this last council meeting. I said, look, I've got some real concerns in here. I said, I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong, but the problem I have, I said, can you, I got a problem with the way Local Life is asking me to, hey, by the way, I'm going to advertise my magazine. I'm going to pay myself an X amount of money, and then I want the city to give me that money back. I've got about 34 years now in government. And I've never been able to make that happen where I just, if I'm submitting for a grant or anything at any level, where I can say, hey, by the way, I'm going to cut myself a check and I'm putting in a grant request to go ahead and get that money back. No, it always works based off of the wholesale. What did it cost me to do this? And I told him, I said, look, I'm all great with wholesale. And he said, great, I'll reach out to her. And I said, wonderful. And so even at the meeting, he said, hey, I reached out to her and let her know your concerns and everything. So this was shared, as far as best of my knowledge, was shared ahead of time. That's what I was related to. And so I asked the questions that I asked. I've already mentioned this tourism. Local Life's a great magazine. It's one of the only things we get in the area that actually is an area publication anymore. I mean, they don't really send out much area publications. So I've got nothing against
I don't actually get it. I don't get it at my home, and I don't get it here either.
I'm sorry.
I don't get it.
I'm sorry.
No, I mean, I saw one. I saw one at a friend's house over the weekend, and actually saw the full page ad that she had already put in there, ran for one of these events.
Yeah.
And so, it does beg that question. It's a very valid question.
And it's not that she can't get the money, just use it for social media marketing. Use it for, I'll be honest with you, I'd love to see some of these people use it for actually advertising in Tanglewood Moms, the website. They have a great advertising, bring people from down, or Made Worthy is another one that's in the Fort Worth area. Grapevine's got some of their own. Like, be really specific. Facebook ads, I get, yes, everybody has to do them, but there's just no rhyme or reason to that. And I think if you pepper that in with some real strategic marketing in some other areas, that could be very beneficial to us.
Right.
So I don't have a problem giving the money.
Exactly.
And I even have a problem, like at the end, Mr. Allard was going on and on about Tiffany Griffin loving Burleson and she's such a good person. Whoever said she wasn't?
Right.
So let me just tell you guys, like I'm offended by this. I'm offended that this woman that I respect, and I don't believe she's saying it. And if she feels it, I'm sorry for that, because your feelings are real and there's no taking that away. But I can tell you that I am offended, and I'm really just quite tired of people having an opinion of me because they don't like me because I'm your sister. No offense to you, okay? But
I'm not offended.
People who have made a judgment on me, and I could say something on council and turn around and someone else on council who's not Jimmy could say the same thing and they would be clapping and cheering.
Right.
But if I say it, they're not.
But you know what?
You made a good point. I will tell you, let me say this again. I say it a lot in council, and this is for the public. I'm saying this for the public. I say that a lot in council because I believe that's who I'm talking to. It's about making sure that I'm answering questions that people are giving me from the public. And my circle is not limited to the three of you in this room, by the way,
Mm-hmm.
which everybody thinks that you're getting all this input from the same 5 people.
Correct.
No, people from all over the city reach out. They have opinions. They think the same way I think sometimes. They have questions I never thought of. And I'm like, that's a good question. I'll have to ask that question. Okay. This is about the people. I have nothing to gain from this.
Which is what your position is. You're supposed to be about the people. So you should be asking questions.
Exactly. And
You
never
should be
look.
watching and having the knowledge and the background information that you need to make the correct vote.
You know, I want to say this because I don't think people are attacking you just because they don't like me. And by the way,
I agree.
can we just
they've made a false judgment of me a long time ago,
right,
because of certain people who don't like me.
Right. Well, let's just go with one person who started a political bashing of multiple people in town and remains so, and it's just still building, right? But I think it also has to do with the fact that you are willing to ask the tough questions, and when we look at the history of government and women in government and women in business in general, gentlemen, sir, please don't take this personally, because it's not every man, but I do believe that there are quite a few men out there who still cannot handle strong women.
No, I'm sorry. There's more women out there that don't like it either.
Okay, I'm with you
because
there.
I will tell you, Brooke and Tiffany held their own, and those women are both tough. I have seen them push back in other situations, rightfully so, by the way.
Yep.
Completely rightfully so. Smart women, strong women. But when I express that part of me, as my counterparts in men have done up on that dais, by the way, I'm getting the pushback.
Right.
The bias against women who are strong, and yeah, maybe my delivery is not the way you would have done it all the time, but Mr. Allard, I don't like the way you deliver some of the things on your show.
Right.
That doesn't make me dislike you as a person. Because by the way, I don't dislike you, Mr. Allard. Okay. I don't.
Do you even know him?
I don't even know him.
Right.
He
never
doesn't
had a
know
personal
me,
conversation with him.
But I don't dislike him. His delivery on things is different than mine. He's very aggressive sometimes to his guests, and I don't like it, but that doesn't matter.
Well,
that's his approach at times. My approach sometimes is more gentle. Other times it's not. By the way, we walk into council, and guess what? I don't put on a superhero cape and wipe away the entire thing I've just experienced throughout the day. So I try my darndest to come in there with letting go of my life. But some days I'm not feeling well. Some days I have a really bad headache. Some days I'm super stressed about work. Some days I'm super stressed about council.
Well, and you're not the only one.
I mean, human. Okay.
Right.
So I am a human being who has faults and makes errors and maybe doesn't always approach things the way you would want me to. But at the core of who I am, I love this town. I love its people. I want what's best for this town. I want to spend our money wisely, and I want to make our city beautiful and safe for its citizens.
We have to.
Period.
There's a couple of things I want to address. One, Brooke got to ask some very tough questions as well, and started with these two because they had the most events.
Yes,
they were requesting money for.
Yes.
A tough question was actually, I don't even think it was a tough question. I think it was a very valid question, and it was asked by Jimmy Stanford, not by Tamara Payne.
Yes.
Jimmy Stanford asked Brooke, "What did you net off of BTX Brewfest last year?"
Exactly. So
she didn't have any problem pulling it up and telling you exactly what she net, because it's not a secret. It shouldn't be a secret, especially if someone's coming to the city to ask for a grant, grant money.
Yeah.
It's a very valid question. These are very valid questions across the board in general.
We had to, by the way, in order to get the COVID grants, people had to provide all of their financials.
Yes,
to get the COVID grants.
Right.
So why is that any different than this? Sorry, Jimmy.
Oh, that's quite
Jimmy's
right.
not going to get a word in.
I'm trying. So, yes, I did ask that question because, again, I've got 30 some odd years in government. A lot of that time has been spent in grants. It's not at all unusual to find out, hey, if you're coming in for, asking, let's be real, it's a government handout. Grants are government handouts. If you're coming in asking for a government handout and you say, hey, I need money for this, the government's going to ask you, why we never have I haven't a clue, and why this is offensive, I haven't a clue. But if you do this at any level and you say, hey, I want to apply for a government grant, they will always want to know the finances. How much did you generate off of this event?
Right.
Applying for student loans for my
Well,
daughter.
I
I
mean,
mean, see that. I
so
mean,
the
come
only
on.
pushback you're going to get on that, and I just want to be aware so that people aren't going to get online and jump all over this, is that this is money that can be earmarked for only specific things.
Right.
So just be conscious of that. But
And
you are right. I still believe
I'm
checks
not
and
hateful of her.
balances is important.
Look, if you
I'm
Can't go to the bank and
actually
get a loan without being asked questions.
I just was
I'm
going to
actually
say,
excited that she made that much on a 1-day event, and she's talking about doing 2 days. Can you imagine what that would mean for her? That's Brooks rocking it.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
incredible.
yeah, they've done very well.
Excellent work.
And it's an event. I think that people,
But do we need to use tax dollars to supplement it?
the
Is the question.
that is another question. Yes. I mean, I was almost kicked out of renting from the city because one councilman in particular said during that open meeting, and I'll just say who it was because you can go back and watch it. And Ronnie Johnson said, "We're not in the business of renting. We're not leasing." And another council member had said during that meeting, "Why are we subsidizing JoCo Community Radio?" Well,
But
listen,
we're subsidizing other things.
nobody's subsidizing JoCo Community Radio. JoCo Community Radio had a deal before I took over the station, and I took it over specifically because my friend passed away from brain cancer suddenly, and I was asked to do so. So I did not create any kind of deal with the city in the first place, and it wasn't subsidizing. It was a very reasonable rent rate for the crap building that
you were in.
we were in the first place. And then I put money into it to make it better and more usable for us, and to actually be able to help other small business owners to be in a shared workspace. Again, not something I created. That was a deal that was made between Pam Masters and the EDC
And
department.
when Tiffany got a hold of JoCo after Pam passed away, they wanted to change it
Right.
because it was personal.
Right.
So let me just say this again on subsidizing, because this was also brought up on Mr. Allard's show yesterday, that I lit Chaz Forrester up in the farmer's market. She did that a couple of months ago. No, I asked the same exact questions. And by the way, called Mr. Chaz beforehand and had a very wonderful conversation. And he specifically said to me, I understand why you're going to make these comments and you have those questions. So please speak with the people before you make a jump to a conclusion.
Right.
That I was asking the same exact question. Now, do other cities do the hot mott just like we do? Yes, they do. Okay. I'm just saying, as a growing city, we are going to need to look at this policy now and try to make some adjustments.
Correct.
Okay. Because we really need to save for a conference center, and giving 50% of the hot mop money we make a year for grants could be a little high, especially we're going to maybe need to cap them at a certain amount once we get more people applying, which I believe is going to happen now that we'll have a longer than 2-week period and we'll be notified when it happens. I had no idea that this even happened until we got this. I have no idea when those applications open up. So we weren't notified on council. So let's just be very clear. I support the farmers market. I support local life in Tiffany Griffin. I support Brooke and all of her businesses. I support the Burleson Area Chamber of Commerce, Jellystone Park, the Burleson Wine Festival, Jordan DeWall and her wonderful event, which I was so impressed by all the numbers and information she provided for that, by the way, for
but you
correct
didn't.
me if I'm
You weren't
wrong.
able to get to.
I didn't get to ask some questions for City on a Hill, for what else? I'm missing some things there. I know I am. But
Mackenzie's Western
Mackenzie's
Swing
Western
Fiddle
Swing Fiddle Workshop, which I think is the coolest thing, by the
is.
way. Very, very
It
cool.
is. And they actually got hot mop money the first year.
I
2018.
support all of this. And I'm going to say this again, Mr. Allard, please, if you are willing to have me on your show, please invite me. Okay. If you're willing, because I'm willing to come on your show and answer your tough questions. But I'm also willing to be really honest. You've made a judgment of me that is wrong. I also want one more last thing is I would never, ever, ever, and I think it was wrong to ask a council member what their opinion is of a fellow council member.
Specifically the mayor.
Okay.
And it was multiple times.
That is so wrong. You know what? We don't all agree. We don't always agree. Okay. We don't all agree. Everybody thinks we do, by the way. Everybody thinks we confer before we get on council, and half the time we never even talk.
Yes.
Okay. But It is not right. We don't always agree on things. We don't always like each other's approach. I don't like the silence that sits around the dais on me, where
Exactly.
nobody asks anything, and that's been going on for 10 years, by the
Right.
way. Okay, so
Hence why
is
we
that
need to
fair
fix this.
to ask another council member? Can you give me your personal opinion of how she or he handled that?
Correct.
We have to work together.
was
Okay, there's
inappropriate.
enough of a dynamic issue as it is. Don't layer that on and put the mayor in such a bad position.
We got less than a minute, and I want to read a couple comments from James Lucky, who is a resident here in Burleson. Just as God has called us all to be good stewards of our finances, we ask that you all be good stewards of our tax dollars. Thank you for being inquisitive and making sure the money is spent where it should. He continues, Hot Mop funds are a way for cities to invest in local businesses who will be using the monies to bring tourism dollars into town. If the city cannot quantify the return on their investment, it may not be a wise investment.
Thank you.
Very
Yes.
That's the
Very
same
well
as
said,
if that's why
James.
banks make you go, I got to turn in monthly finance information
For your loan.
for one of our business
Same thing with my
loans. Yeah.
SBA loan.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for joining me
Thank you.
and
Thank you.
being honest and open to the conversation. So we'll see you back here tomorrow morning. Have an amazing day. Be kind.
Thank you.
From Burleson to Venus and Grandview to Godley, this is the voice of Johnson County, JoCo Community Radio. At Romika Designs, we're more than just a laser engraving and specialty design company. Much more. I'm Ron Phillips, co-owner of Romika Designs, and if you can dream it, we can probably make it. We can custom laser cut and engrave on nearly all material. Great for one-of-a-kind gifts, home decor, business and specialty items, or personalized and logo designs created just for you or your company. Allow us to become your go-to gift and specialty project partner. Romika Designs can help make your ideas a reality. We're ready to help